day to all our viewers out there. My name is Heinrich Neetling and this is Mathematical Literacy. In today's lesson we'll be looking at the topic of probability, more specifically at probability within context. Now let's get straight to that. In question number 1, I indicated here, consider the following experiment. A single fair coin was tossed 20 times and the following outcomes were recorded. The letter T represents outcomes for tails and the letter H represents the outcomes for heads. Right, so there we have our results after we've performed this experiment. Now let's see what we need to do. I indicated here, use the information above to complete the table below. Right, so now let's quickly think about this. If we work with a single fair coin, right, if we flip that coin, we can say in theory, the chances of it land on tails is 50-50, right? It's 50%, 1 over 2. The same will apply for heads, right? So therefore, I'll indicate that the theoretical probability is 1 over 2, which equals to 50%, and it's a decimal 0.5. I'm sure you'll agree that we can say the same about heads, right? So it's also 1 over 2, which equals to 50%. So therefore, that will take us to a total probability of 100%. Now let's look closely at what is presented to us. Remember we said this coin is tossed 20 times, and now we have the results here. So now I need to look at the frequency of tails and of heads. So I'm going to quickly count the tails. So that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the frequency refers to the number of times a number is appearing equals 12, right? So therefore, I'm going to indicate this as 12. Okay? I hope that is clear to all of you. Then, if I look at it, if that was 20 times, then I'm sure you'll agree with me, then the chances of heads then will be 8. Okay? Hence, we are indicating that if I add the frequency now together, 12 plus 8, that should give us 20 for the total. And we can check whether I'm correct. Let's quickly count the H's. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we are indeed correct. Okay, so I hope that is all clear to you. Now let's look at the relative frequency. So the relative frequency of tails will be 12 over 20, right, as a common fraction. Then relative frequency of heads, therefore, will be 8 over 20. Okay, so let me just write that down, 8 over 20. Then what else are we looking for? We are looking for the decimal. So therefore, in terms of a decimal, I'll type in 12 divided by 20. And you can use your calculator for this. So that will give us 0.6. And I'll do the same for this, but I'm sure some of you can see the answer already. So 8 divided by 20, for those who are stuck, right, this will give us 0.4. Right, and then our last category here is where we have to indicate the relative frequency of both tails and heads as a percentage. And we know when we want a percentage, we'll multiply by 100. And I'm sure, again, some of you know this answer already. So I'm going to type in 0.6 multiplied by 100. That will give us 60%. And then lastly, again, obviously, 0.4 times 100, and that will give us 40%, so that it adds up to 100%. Guys, I hope that is all clear. Let us now look at another question. Question number 2. I indicated here, a coin is flipped and an ordinary dice is rolled. Okay? So 2A, draw a two-way table to represent all the possible outcomes for this event. Okay, so now let's look at this table. Remember, a two-way table, it will work in 2 ways. So first I'm going to indicate here where I'm going to split my table into 2. Right? So let's add another column and I'll show you why. So in this case now, I'll have, and I'm going to split them into 2. So the 1 will be for my coin, okay? I'll label that C for coin, and then this will be my dice, right? And now, when I look at the dice which is going to work horizontally, I should have 6 possible outcomes. Do we agree? Yes, okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to make this number 6. So now let's quickly label. If you work with a coin, right, you can either have heads or tails. Can you see? So that one, I decided to work horizontally. Then vertically, that's vertical, horizontally. For the dice now, 6 possible outcomes. It can either be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Agree? So now, therefore, let's look at our combinations, right? Our possible outcomes, right? So therefore, I can have heads with 1 or heads with a 2 on my dice, or heads with 3, possibility of heads and 4, heads and 5, or heads and 6. Can you see I combined the 2? Or I can have tails and 1, tails and 2, tails and 3, tails with 4 on your dice, tails with 5, or tails with 6. So there I have my two-way table with my possible outcomes. Okay. Now question number 2b. How many possible outcomes are there? So if I look, I can literally go and count. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So agree that we have 12 possible outcomes. Okay. So you can write the words in full as well, possible outcomes. Okay, now same scenario, coin is flipped, ordinary dice is rolled. We want to know now, what is the probability of getting a head, right, and a number greater than 4? Okay, I'll just go back so that we can look at the complete the table, right? So there we have our table. So it must be a heads with a number bigger than 4. Okay, so therefore, if I look, here is my heads and a number bigger than 4. So that will be H5 and H6. Do we agree on that? Okay, so let's quickly go in and write that down. So therefore, the probability of getting a heads and a number greater than 4 will be equals to 2 over 12. And in simplest form, that will give us 1 over 6. Guys, I hope that's clear. Then, number D, determine the probability of getting a tail with an even number. Write your answer as a decimal. Okay, so a tail with an even number, and the answer should be in decimal form. So again, let's quickly look at the completed table. There we have tails. Okay, even numbers will be what? That will be 2, 4, and 6. We agree. So therefore, it will then be 3 out of 12. So let's go back and quickly write that answer down. So therefore, we'll say probability of tails with an even number, as we indicated, is 3 out of a possible 12. And remember, we can simplify this still by saying 3 go into itself once, into 12 4 times. Okay? Important here, it indicates that we must write our answer as a decimal. Remember, we stop by saying it's 1 over 4. So I'll say 1 divided by 4 equals, then I'll press my change button. So therefore, as a decimal, right, this should be 0.25. I hope that's clear to all of you. All right, guys, let us quickly take a short advert break. After the break, we'll continue with more probability. See you now.